Naruto exclusive videos lemon come out on my boosty. You can watch and subscribe. Link in the description, like the video and write a comment, enjoy watching. Description: how many obstacles does Naruko Uzumaki need to overcome to become happy? And will she cope? Or maybe it's better to give up. Part 15. The world stopped, and only somewhere inside her heart was beating uncontrollably, not wanting to stop. Naruto couldn't believe what she was hearing. Itachi, her Itachi, the genius shinobi, the most capable in the leaf, dead? Someone say. Kai. And it was all her fault, her selfish, cruel request. If it weren't for that, Itachi would still be alive. But her husband tried to fulfill her wish. And died. Even her thoughts stumbled at this point. Naruto couldn't believe it. She stood up and walked towards the exit on wooden legs. Naruto, please forgive me, I have to leave. Right before the door, Tsunade's voice stopped her. Naruto, don't forget you have Sasuke. The girl nodded and closed the door behind her. After taking a few steps, she leaned against the cool wall of the corridor. She didn't care if anyone saw her in this state. Her legs gave out completely, her breath came out wheezing. Itachi, her Itachi. But the Hokage was right, she had Sasuke, she had no right to fall apart, for her brother's sake. She was used to cheering herself up with kicks, she was used to gritting her teeth and moving forward, tearing her soul to shreds, leaving a bloody trail behind her. She was used to it. For Sasuke, for her family, she had to try. Although she wanted to howl. It took a lot of effort to peel herself off the wall, but the girl overcame herself, and walked towards the exit on unbending legs. An ANBU landed next to her on the street. Hokage-sama ordered me to take you home, Uchiha-san. Naruto only nodded, she only remembered the road, but did not notice the people around her. And the tenacious, strong hand of the shinobi, periodically grabbing her by the elbow, allowed her to avoid a collision. The Hokage was right, she had Sasuke, she couldn't commit suicide, as Tsunade probably feared. In any case, Naruto wouldn't do anything like that, too easy a method, too low for someone who was used to fighting. I'll take her from here. Keiko sat down next to her. I have an order, the ANBU said dispassionately. Tell the Hokage-sama that you've entrusted her to reliable hands. Don't worry, I'll deliver her safe and sound. Uzumaki waved her hand impatiently. And Naruto noticed that the woman was seriously agitated. It didn't show much outwardly, only her eyes shone more than usual, and a couple of thin curls fell out of her hairdo. When the ANBU disappeared, Keiko leaned towards the leader's ear. Naruto, we have problems! She hissed, grabbed him tightly by the elbow and moved him with a shunshin to the gates of the clan quarter. The barrier did not allow anyone to enter inside in this way. Keiko dragged the girl along the streets like a hurricane, not giving her a chance to catch her breath. Naruto barely had time to shuffle his legs, his body had not yet coped with the shock of her husband's death. The eldest Uzumaki literally carried her relative into the house in her arms, closed the door and pushed Naruto into the living room. During the hours of Naruto's absence, the situation had changed. The furniture had been moved to the walls, freeing up space in the center. A futon had been spread out there, on which a man was tossing and turning in a feverish delirium. The smell of blood, burned hair, and scorched skin hit his nose. Sasuke was sitting in the corner, biting his knuckles, Shursui, and Karen were trying to hold the sick man back so that he would not hurt himself, so that his tossing and turning would not loosen the bandages on his chest and abdomen. Naruto could not believe her eyes. She pinched herself, the pain convinced her of the reality of what was happening. Her husband, Uchiha Itachi, was lying in front of her. There was no need to doubt, they had already checked him for illusions, which meant it was really him. The girl pulled herself together, reminded her joyfully pounding heart that she could lose her husband again now if she didn't do anything. And she jumped up to the futon. She leaned on Itachi, opened her eyelids to look at the reaction of his pupils, listened to the wheezing in his chest. Her knowledge was only enough to determine the extent of the damage. He fell out in your office. You didn't close the connection with the summoning world, did you? Keiko sat down next to him. Indeed, since Senju's return to the village, Naruto had kept one raven with her. The bird didn't spend much energy, but not on the Jinchuriki, whom even the flock couldn't wear out. She kept hoping that Itachi would contact her, that they would be able to talk, and she would apologize. That's how it happened. We accidentally found him, the door was ajar, he was bleeding. Naruto, this is... The girl nodded. Yes, Uchiha Itachi, my husband. They found 2 poison saban in his leg. Karen held out the needles on a strip of cloth. They left thin purple-red stains. Poison, which she had never dealt with, did not know how to treat. Naruto bit her lip. Karen, Sasuke, stay with Itachi. Keiko, sure sway, the protective barrier is at maximum. Post guards, do not let anyone out, check everyone who enters for Henge. Yes, the elders quickly left the room. I will be back soon with the doctor, wait for me. Sasuke, help Karen restrain Itachi. Yes, sister. The Hokage was still at her workplace, methodically sorting through the reports, now from the medic Nin. Although she could easily run off somewhere on her own business, Naruto had caught her boss more than once almost on the border of Konoha. She looked at the disheveled assistant of the Hokage who had tumbled into the office with indescribable surprise. Naruto. She jumped up, grabbed the woman by the elbow. Tsunade-san, I need your help. We are going to the clan quarter. She waved her hand away from the ceiling and moved with Shunshin to the gate. Just as Keiko had recently dragged her, she pulled Senju along with her, not paying attention to the surprised looks of some of the tenants. Out of the corner of her eye, she noticed Shusoi's presence in the shadows near the main gate. He was checking everyone who entered with his Sharingan, and since he was inside the barrier, no one would notice the use of dojutsu. And he hid well. Itachi was no longer tossing and turning, he lay motionless, pale, with blackened eyelids and cracked lips. Naruto's palms were sweating from excitement. Tsunade had every right to call ANBU now and order them arrested. Anything, as long as she helped her husband. Sanin cursed through her teeth, rushed to the patient, pushing Karen aside. She activated Shosen and began to use some of her medical techniques, almost sniffing the senbons. She took a syringe from a gutted first aid kit nearby. All shinobi are paranoid, and therefore their home stocks of medicine are not much different from combat or field supplies for long missions. Hold him, the commanding voice shook the kids. Together with his brother and Karen, Naruto held Itachi back just in case while the medic took his blood. She scribbled a note, packed everything into a scroll. Let one of yours pass this on to the hospital, Shizen. This poison is similar to Chie's poisons, she made us suffer during the Third War with her developments. Naruto caught the first member of the squad she came across, passed on the order to the Hokage. She did not let anyone inside. Such secrets cannot be kept by a large group. Keiko and Karen had seals against mental attacks, which the elder Uzumaki had been taught by her parents. She had put the same seal on Sasuke. They wouldn't be able to do anything against the Yamanaka invasion, but they could easily keep their favorites a secret. Sure sway is sure sway, Naruto would like to see someone who can subdue a genjutsu master. And the Hokage won't check, will she cope? Tsunade nodded, continuing to pour medical chakra into the patient. I taught Shizen, the medic shrugged. She is a diligent, smart girl. But you shouldn't tell her who the antidote is intended for. Kato is too, she hesitated, choosing her words. Straightforward and simple-minded. The returning shinobi brought a package with him. Shizen, as a true professional, having learned that the teacher was dealing with a complex poison literally in field conditions, handed over in 4 with a cleansing solution. Together with Senju's medical techniques, this should allow the patient to hold out until a portion of the antidote was prepared. Itachi barely moved, so Tsunade fearlessly stuck a needle into him, attached the container to the wall with Saban, and activated the Iryojutsu again. She will need 2 or 3 hours. These were the longest hours in Naruto's life. Most of all, she suffered from the impossibility of doing anything, of helping in any way. The girl did not run, did not rush about, knowing that it was not worth breaking the concentration of the Saninu, whose forehead was already sweating. But she was silent so eloquently that in the end Tsunade could not stand it, and ordered her to wipe the patient down to bring down the temperature a little. Naruto clutched the strip of cloth like a drowning man clutches a straw. She wiped her husband's pale, smooth skin and silently begged him to be patient, to hold on. Shizen personally brought the medicine to the clan quarter, and Senju left for a while. After administering the antidote, the man's breathing became easier, calmer. Naruto lowered her eyes to the crumpled damp cloth in her hands. It was all over, Itachi was alive. No, it was only just beginning, now she needed to talk to the Hokage. Despite her fatigue, Tsunade nodded demandingly towards the doorway. Karen, look after Itachi. Sasuke, run to Keiko and Shursui, tell them everything is fine, and come back. The relative looked worriedly at her head, Naruto couldn't even smile to calm her down. Her brother disappeared in the right direction literally instantly, and Naruto went to the kitchen. She put the kettle on, clanged the dishes, putting the treats on the table. Just to delay the difficult conversation. Her hands were shaking badly, and the girl had to concentrate so as not to break anything. She didn't know what reaction to expect from Senju. And she hoped that Tsunade would take her merits into account and let her family escape before the proceedings. Her mind was already calculating escape routes, The Uchiha recalled how many resources they had in direct access if they had to urgently drop everything and flee Konoha with her husband, who had not yet come to his senses. Sure sway, Itachi, you have a lot of secrets, Naruto, the Sannin said thoughtfully when the girls sat down opposite. The Uchiha did not raise her eyes from the cup in which a blade of grass stood like a column. Now it seemed like a complete mockery. There was a rustling sound, and a scroll tied with a blue ribbon lay on the table in front of her. Naruto unfolded it, ran her eyes over what was written and stared at the Hokage in amazement. Somehow this did not fit with reality. Senju nodded. I wanted to give it to you this evening, but I didn't have time. You intercepted me first. She took a sip of tea and chewed on a cookie. The teacher insured himself and signed an order appointing Itachi Uchiha to a high-ranking mission. Spying on the terrorist group Akatsuki. And the death of a family is an excellent legend. In fact, they were killed by someone else, most likely from the same organization. Naruto still could not come to her senses. This changed everything. Her husband was officially innocent, his rights could be restored. Not now, of course, but still. Tsunade seemed to read her thoughts. It's too early to publish the order now. Too little time has passed since the third's death. They might not believe us. The girl's strength left her. She went limp in the chair. Too many worries, too much had piled up all at once. It seemed to her that she was being thrown against the rocks in a stormy whirlpool, and she could not cope and swim out. The Hokage offered to deceive the guards, agreed to cover for the criminal, even if he was not quite a criminal. Treated him. Will you help? Yes. But why? For the first time Naruto looked her age. A confused child. Senju smiled. I am also partly Uzumaki. By the way, I advise you to hurry, soon someone might wonder why the quarter is almost under siege, and the censors have lost sight of it. Naruto snorted, wrinkling her nose. They didn't see much before either. Keiko checked, she only managed to make out silhouettes, and she's the strongest censor I know. Really? A thoughtful expression appeared in the woman's eyes. It seemed she was already calculating the benefits. Naruto grinned and closed her eyes, stroking the third's order with her fingers. They would cope, for sure. What are we going to do? The family in its usual composition gathered near the sick man. They still hadn't moved Itachi, leaving him in the center of the living room. They didn't even touch the furniture, as if that could affect the recovery. Tsunade sent a list of restorative drugs, rules and recipes for their use. Now Itachi was sleeping peacefully. All the injections were given to him either by Naruto or Keiko. And along with the list came an order to assign Uchiha Naruto and Uchiha Sasuke the rank of Chunin. But Sakura would have to wait another year until the next exam, or work harder with the number of missions. Thus, team number 7 was broken. Naruto snorted mockingly and shrugged, taking out the scissors. The question did not need an answer. To form a new Uzumaki, of course. She mentally apologized to Itachi. It was a shame to cut off thick, beautiful hair, albeit singed in places, but they were almost the calling card of the elder Uchiha, like the deep wrinkles at the wings of the nose. But they can be hidden under a mask. Sasuke and Shursui helped Itachi lift him up, give him a sitting position so that the women could give his hair the shade characteristic of all Uzumaki. In order not to arouse suspicion, Naruto made the dye herself, having consulted with the teacher beforehand. No more difficult than creating poisons. After Tsunade left, Keiko asked a logical question, why Naruto did not cure her husband herself. To which the head of the clan smiled bitterly. While she would have been busy with identifying the poison, with selecting the components, Itachi could easily have died, since none of them had sufficient knowledge of medical techniques. After all, only thanks to the efforts of Senju, the man lived to make an antidote. She used not just Shosen. The truth is that she was afraid. To harm, to not have time, to make a mistake. She could prepare any medicine for each of her relatives, but when it came to Itachi, her mind failed, filled with excitement and anxiety. Not good for a shinobi, but she is only a person. She can have her own weaknesses. Naruto almost lay down on Itachi, nevertheless, holding the weight, with a thin brush applying the seal symbols to the delicate skin of his cheek, which should slightly distort the correct features of the Uchiha. No one will recognize her husband if he puts on a mask and becomes red-haired. At least, she hoped so. The girl was just finishing the last ligature, sticking out her tongue from diligence, when Ryusan arrived with ready documents in the name of Uzumaki Ichi, she his brother. The Uzumaki clan did not bother too much with names, take Mito or Kushina, or the same Naruto. They named their children as their hearts told them. She wanted to sing, scream and laugh with joy, throwing her head back. Naruto practically flew to work. She returned home with joy. And although Itachi had not yet come to his senses, his condition was improving every day. Shinobi are tenacious creatures, they are not so easy to kill. And at the same time, she was a little afraid of his reaction after waking up. What would he say, because her selfish desire to be near him was to blame for everything? But Naruto had no doubt that she would be able to persuade her husband to be a little merciful. Naruto, stay late. Tsunade put the sheets of paper aside. We need to talk. The Uchiha nodded, took the Hokage by the hand and moved him to the clan quarter. They had already habitually walked into the head's mansion, went into the kitchen, where the girl made tea. Tsunade took out some medical reports. In addition to the poison, I discovered an infectious disease in your husband. So far only the lungs are affected, but there is already an acute deficiency of vitamins, some elements, exhaustion of the body and many other things. What should be done? Tsunade chuckled. Feed, water, pamper, cherish, and do not let him strain himself, at least at first. I will give drugs that act actively on the infection itself. The poison played into our hands, weakened the body, and the disease passed into a more powerful stage, while before, most likely, your husband suppressed it with chakra, drove it inside. That's why he still hasn't woken up. Exactly. I will prescribe intravenous nutrition, inject him with a group of vitamins, give him some decoctions to drink. We will monitor the progress. The disease is easy to cope with, much easier than with loss of vision. Did you know that he could soon go completely blind? Naruto nodded. The Mangekyo Sharingan draws a lot of energy. The more you use it, the more strain it puts on your eyes. There is a cure for this, but it is still too small and not ready. We will try to make sure Itachi does not use the dojutsu too often. Tsunade looked satisfied. Of course, just in case, the village has an excellent weapon. I will prepare the medicine, better yet, a recipe. In this case I will do everything myself. Senju only raised her eyebrows in surprise but did not argue. She gave the recommendations in writing in full, and left the hospitable mansion. Naruto sighed with relief. They will cope. Part 16. Uzumaki Ichi, who suffered at the hands of Suna's missing nin, became a full-fledged resident of Konoha. Naruto spent her days in the Hokage's office, overloaded with assignments, and in the evenings she prepared potions, injected drugs given to her by Tsunade. Back in the first year, she organized a small laboratory in the basement of the house so as not to lose her skills, but she practically did not use it, overloaded with clan affairs, missions, training with and without the team. Now she was quickly restoring her skills, relearning not to break test tubes. Her hands easily recalled their favorite thing. Only one thing was upsetting. Itachi never came to his senses. The disease that the Hokage had identified was developing, trying to suppress the body's restorative functions, oppressing them. Tsunade was happy about this. It was better to openly fight the enemy than to drive him inside and constantly expect some kind of trick. Itachi, busy with the group's missions, received almost no treatment, much less medication among the new nin. You can't show your weaknesses, they could easily be used. The head of the disgraced Uchiha was highly valued on the black market, and the consequences of such neglect had to be dealt with. Karen occasionally exchanged. Naruto, Sasuke, having received a green vest, disappeared on missions. The Hokage was not going to wait until the talented shinobi could work due to family circumstances. The strength of the Uchiha clan was needed now. While everything was quiet on the borders, Akatsuki also hid, and Sasuke was mainly engaged in guarding and escorting serious customers. Itachi's Sharingan added to the concerns. The only possible donor was his younger brother, but so far he was not ready for the transplant. It was necessary to wait at least a year and a half. Again, the wait was excruciating, but now at least there was hope. Naruto grinned at her high-flown thoughts. From fatigue, no doubt. It was time to go to bed. Tomorrow the clones would be sent on missions for the Hokage again. She had decided to check the reliability of some wealthy shinobi. Naruto's clones were mainly engaged in reconnaissance. They were practically not felt, and no one had cancelled henge. Tsunade was worried about the decline of some business areas, the dominance of others. It was decided to deal with this too. And it was also necessary to collect dirt on some ancient personalities who had been in power for too long. Naruto frowned, drummed her fingers on the lab table. Tsunade relayed the contents of one conversation to her. Jinchuriki should not be allowed to power. He must be stable enough to fight and not ask questions. The clan, Sasuke, family ties of the elders tied her to Konoha. A loner could leave the leaf too easily. It is more convenient to fight for your own safety when you are not afraid for anyone. But they didn't like the fact that Naruto was now not only on the Council of Clans, but also with the Hokage. At this rate, the Uchiha clan was retaking the positions that the second Hokage had taken away. The girl sighed, stretched, and left the lab. She wouldn't think of anything good from fatigue, and she would make a mistake in the recipe. She didn't want such a development of events. A warm shower calmed her raging thoughts, set her in a sleepy mood. Her eyes were already closing when Naruto crawled into her own bed next to her husband. They had moved Itachi to the marital bedroom so as not to raise questions from potential visitors to the mansion, whom the head of the clan received in the living room. Naruto stroked her husband's cheek. The stubble that had grown during the day slightly pricked her fingertips. An unshaven Itachi was not a sight for the faint of heart, if only because it was too unusual. Her husband always took good care of himself, and now Naruto was keeping an eye on him. She slept carefully, trying not to move too much so as not to hurt Itachi, not to pull out the four. And even though she didn't get enough sleep, it was the best rest she had had in years. Listening to his breathing, inhaling the smell of his body mixed with the sharp notes of medicine, feeling his warmth, his very presence. She missed him incredibly, and her stomach twisted into a spiral. Looking in the darkness at her husband's sharpened profile, Naruto allowed herself to dream that one day, someday, a couple of kids would run around this house, black-eyed, dark-haired, just like their dad. They would definitely name the girl Mikoto. And already falling asleep, Naruto heard the patter of little feet on the verge. The morning began the same way every time. Naruto woke up, but for some time she mindlessly lay in bed, trying to come to her senses. At first from nightmares, now from rainbow dreams. She had never even dreamed of such things as a child. The girl did not remember their essence, she only knew that they were joyful, full of light and laughter. Stupid, of course, but she liked it. Then she went to the shower and cooked breakfast, lately more and more often for one person. Although Sasuke, returning home, never refused his sister's cooking. He hugged her, kissed her on the cheek and told her about the incidents on missions, about how they went, what team they formed this time. And also about his dreams of becoming a jonin. Then they ran off to do their own thing, only to meet in the evening. Sometimes a few days later, if her brother was sent on a mission again. But that morning everything changed. Naruto woke up from the light touch of rough lips to her forehead. And before she had time to pull the kunai out from under the pillow, out of habit, on reflexes, a gentle whisper burned her hearing, "I'm back, my soul." The simple words made her chest tighten, and Naruto sighed intermittently. And she opened her eyes. Itachi was hanging over her, still too weak, pale, but with a slight smile on his lips. The raised corners of his lips, just a shadow, but so beloved by Naruto. "Welcome back." She hugged him tightly around the neck, pushing him down on top of her. Let him rest, lie down, no need to waste energy. There was still time for everything. Itachi rolled to the side, and Naruto lay on his shoulder. She made a clone and sent him to his workplace. Tsunade never scolded if a copy came instead of the original. This did not affect productivity in any way, and Naruto could simply be busy with another assignment, or checking what had already been completed. Moreover, all knowledge was transferred to the original. Perhaps the Uzumaki were the only ones who could create an entire army, receive all their memories at once and not go crazy. The Hokage herself was already getting a terrible headache from the couple. Naruto decided to shamelessly take advantage of her boss's trust today. It was okay to do it once. She didn't know where to start the conversation. She wanted to apologize and confess her love, she wanted everything at once, she was torn. Itachi was in no hurry, he was taking his time, he was running his hand over his wife's bare arm, thinking about something of his own. It was as if he was reading his wife's thoughts and giving her the time she needed so much. "Forgive me." The Uchiha kissed the fluffy top of her head, closed his eyes, inhaling the familiar aroma, now not distorted by the smells of the summoned world. Homey, cozy, a little fiery. Alive, real. The one he dreamed of so much in his room in the next Akatsuki hideout. "The nameless shinobi who protects the world from the shadows," he said slowly. Naruto met a clear gaze, the drugs no longer clouded his consciousness, his recovery was in full swing, although the beads of sweat on his forehead spoke of terrible weakness. Itachi smiled at the appraising, tenacious gaze. It was nice to be cared for. "I considered this my whole life as my rule, my ninja path, if you will. If I didn't have you and Sasuke, perhaps I would have continued to follow this path and one day let someone kill me, just so I wouldn't feel guilty for what I did. But I have you." Even Shursui realized that sometimes it's good to have someone to fight for. "And, Naru, thank you for reminding me who I've been working for these past years, who I went to this for." The girl sighed and rubbed her cheek. A husband, a few words, a typical Uchiha. "What happened in Akatsuki? How did you get wounded?" Itachi stared at the ceiling. "After our conversation, I planned to fake my death and return to Konoha, just like Shursui. But Orochimaru managed to annoy me here too. One of the Akatsuki members, Sasori no Akusuna, was engaged in intelligence. His network of spies covered almost all countries. And among them was Orochimaru's student, Yakushi Kabuto. An excellent intelligence officer, a talented medic even too talented, Itachi winced. He gave Akasuna some of his former teacher's notes. It turned out that Orochimaru suspected me of being a Leaf spy from the very beginning, but he never received any evidence. This did not stop Akatsuki. I had to break through with a fight. The group lost 2 members, the demolitionist Deidara and Sasori himself, and I still managed to fake my death. Which almost became reality, Itachi chuckled. Deidara had a genome that allowed him to saturate clay with chakra and explode it. Realizing that I could not be defeated with simple tricks, he used the extreme degree of his technique. He blew himself up. Taking advantage of this, I moved to the summoned world, and from there to you. And it took me a while to realize that Sasori still managed to hurt me. The grandson of the famous Chie, he used her poisons as a basis. Naruto raised her head. Can you write down everything you know about Akatsuki, their shelters, the characteristics of the group members? I need to warn the Hokage. Although no, dictate, and I will write it down. Itachi nodded. Naruto created another clone. She ran to the bathroom while her husband dictated the report. Important information, if, as they assumed, Akatsuki was hunting for the Jinchuriki. True, now they would have to wait for the revival of Shikaku and Isabu, since the host Mizukage had died, giving way to the monster of the mist. A woman with 2 improved genomes. You know, it's much more convenient to write reports this way. Itachi shared his impressions with his returned wife. The clone chuckled. Naruto stuck out her tongue. Don't even think about it. You'll have to fill out the papers yourself, with pens. By the way, you are now Shiya Uzumaki's brother, Ichi Uzumaki. Itachi nodded, and Naruto couldn't help but giggle. Not funny. He immediately understood the reason for the Uchiha girl's amusement. While he was sick, Naruto hadn't paid attention, but now that Itachi sat down on the pillows, it became clear that his short hair was sticking out in different directions, like the needles of a hedgehog. Now it was clear why he always wore his hair long, pulled back into a ponytail. It was too heavy, and when it was short, it couldn't be combed. And considering that it was now a rich red color, maybe I should at least grow it to my ears? Itachi asked almost plaintively. Slightly forced jokes, slightly strained laughter. They were both just getting used to their normal, everyday life, getting used to the other's presence, getting used to the fact that they were no longer alone. They would need time, a lot of time, but they would cope. They were Uzumaki. And they were Uchiha. No need, I like it. Naruto kissed her husband lightly. Rest, the clone will bring you breakfast. And I'm off. Until the evening. Slipping out of the house, Naruto kept touching her lips as she ran along the rooftops. It was so unusual, everything had more or less returned to normal. He was nearby, safe, they were together again. A bright smile lit up her lips. You need to eat a lemon, advised the Hokage when the assistant came to her workplace. For the 3rd time that morning, by the way. And don't glow like a light bulb. Naruto smiled even wider. I'm just happy, she said sincerely and with feeling. I'm just happy, Tsunade-san. Do you understand? The woman's gaze softened, and she smiled. I understand. But aren't you afraid of what others might say when they find out that you're sleeping with another man, not your husband? Even your own clan, my own clan, won't say a word against me. They respect me too much. I was Itachi Uchiha's wife to them only for the first 6 months. Naruto handed over her husband's report, and sat down at a specially brought second table to sort papers. And I don't give a damn about others' opinions. We're not going to advertise our relationship. Besides, she grinned slyly. I'm a widow now, Datebeo. Tsunade shook her head. Now I understand how you managed to revive the clan and bring it back to almost its previous positions. You can turn any situation to your advantage. But still, shine less, otherwise people might think that you're happy about the death of one Akatsuki. Not one, but 2. Naruto nodded at the sheet of paper she had brought. Tsunade delved into her study. The clock was ticking. Toro was meowing shrilly outside the window, as another team of genin was catching him with wild screams. Finally, the Hokage looked up. Interesting information. And reliable. What are you planning to do, Tsunade-san? The Sannin drummed her fingers on the table, turned to the window and looked at the rooftops for a while, her thoughts somewhere very far away. I think I'll send the information to Mist and Cloud, make Mei and happy. They have their own Jinchuriki. As far as I heard, Mei managed to get the tailed waterfall, and Cloud got the 8 tails. Both of them will be interested and useful in this information. And if we involve the swordsman of Mist, we'll be able to deal with If not all of Akatsuki, then most of them for sure. Do you want to form an alliance? Yes, that would be a good option. Tsunade nodded with satisfaction. I'll also write a response to the congratulations at the same time. Naruto giggled. It was no secret that the Raikage despised women, considered them weak and good for nothing. And in the same vein, he sent congratulations to his fellow Kage. Tsunade hadn't written a response yet, so it was a great excuse. And the correspondence wouldn't attract unnecessary attention, and then it would be too late to change anything. Naruto, do you know that ambassadors from the cloud are coming to us? Sasuke burst into his sister's office, excited and flushed. And he let out a stifled gasp when he saw that his sister was sitting not on a chair, but on her husband's lap. He quickly turned to the wall. In some matters, he remained such a child. I know, Datebao. Naruto drawled sadly. All the last month we did nothing but negotiate with the Raikage, she grimaced when she recalled some phrases from the messages. The Hokage ordered you to appear as her first assistant. By the way, I was put in charge of issuing missions. Irika-sensei has midterm tests at the academy. Oh, stupid little brother, you are about to experience the full delight of Hatake Kakashi's reports, Itachi drawled. And together with his wife, they giggled mischievously, looking at the twisted face of Sasuke, who had turned around again. Ichi Uzumaki worked in the field of training Anbu, some Jonin, as well as Genin and future Genin in Kenjutsu. And he was much more lively than Itachi Uchiha, communicated more naturally, although behind the mask it was impossible to understand what expression he had on his face. He also lived with the others in the head's mansion and slept in her bed. Even if the core of the clan knew about it, they kept quiet. Naruto was right. The squad valued their head too much to gossip about her personal life. Outside the quarter, those who did not wear the clan crest were unable to find out anything. Their relationship is their personal life. For this, Naruto more than once thanked the restraint of the Uchiha and those who worked for them. Naruto couldn't know this, but Itachi, Shursui and Sasuke knew, and Ryosan told them directly that everyone in the clan wanted Naruto-sama to be happy. And if Ichi Uzumaki hurt her, it was not worth having the Uchiha clan as an enemy, they would get him out of the ground. Itachi then bowed politely, thanked her for the advice and the blessing. Naruto couldn't know this, but the clan truly loved her. And they would kill for her and for her. At the meeting of the two Kage, Naruto stood in her usual suit, with the Uchiha Mano on her back. And she took a place next to her superior, tacitly declaring the clan's position in the village. The recognition for which she had worked all these years. She submitted papers, inserted the necessary phrases, tried to defuse the situation, and she herself remembered how much she argued with Tsunade about her clothes. She wanted her assistant to come in a standard shinobi uniform, but Naruto was stubborn. She absolutely did not like the green Chunin vest. Too heavy, too rough, too many pockets, which could easily be replaced by spatial seals on a blue sleeveless jacket. And on the back of the vest was the village symbol, not the clan crest, and this seemed like a small betrayal to Naruto. A forehead protector was enough. The Raikage, a powerful, tan man with weights on his hands, did not have the habit of holding back. 2 tables had already been broken, but certain agreements had been reached. In the event of an attack on at least one village, Akatsuki would be in trouble. And Terumi May had already agreed to send a couple of squads of swordsmen. On their own. The destruction of members of the group with the subsequent payment of a decent reward. The same 2 squads were formed in Konoha. Naruto gave hers the order to keep an eye on those around them during missions. If you step away from what was happening, an era was changing right now. It was not a confrontation that was beginning, but a cooperation between the villages. They all had something to protect. The Jinchuriki of the Eight Tails, the Raikage's own brother, and he would kill for his little brother, tear anyone to shreds. And even though he didn't like the 2 women at the helm of Konoha, he couldn't help but acknowledge the rationality of their arguments. Naruto went out into the fresh air, closed her eyes, looking at the sun in the sky. Everything would definitely be fine. Sasuke would become a Jonin, get married, have a couple of cute kids, just like him as a child. Itachi wouldn't have to hide, he would be able to grow his hair again. They would definitely swap their eyes. And Shursui and Karen would be together. For some reason, right now, after signing a contract with the Cloud, she managed to believe that everything would be fine. Well, definitely. Now she had to go to the training ground and drag Ichi out for lunch, otherwise he would get so carried away that he would forget about the doctor's orders. Naruto smiled. Her heart was singing, and for the first time in years she was happy, she felt whole. Finally. The sun was slowly rising above the horizon, the Engawa boards, damp with morning dew, were cooling her palms, the pale dawn haze was rising above the pond, the flowers were rustling, and the bamboo pacifier was knocking by the water. Naruto lowered her feet onto the still cool ground, which had just begun to warm up, and turned her face to the first rays of the sun. The girl loved to sit like this. In the early hours of dawn, the world seemed serene and calm, as if there were no military settlements, no missing nin, no tailed beasts. There was only you and the boundless world around you. Her soul was warmed by the knowledge that in the house behind her, Sasuke was snoring in his bed, having bought tomatoes for 2 weeks yesterday. For ordinary people for 2 weeks, for the youngest Uchiha a couple of days, no more. Karen and Shursui slept in an embrace. Keiko trusted her daughter's discretion. The eldest Uzumaki herself was absent, and Naruto suspected whose bed she spent the night in. Ryusan was an excellent choice for a lonely, restless, proud woman. Even if a war happened, they would cope. No matter what the future had in store for them. Because they were not alone, because they had each other. They were Uchiha. They were Uzumaki. The creaking of floorboards and the slap of bare feet were heard from behind. Naruto smiled, exposing her neck to the kisses of lips hot from sleep. It was with difficulty that Itachi was weaned not to slide around the house like a ghost, like on missions. What are you thinking about? Familiar black eyes looked into her face. Itachi settled down behind her, hugged his wife, sat her between her legs. Naruto leaned on his broad chest, feeling his heart beat evenly against his spine. She intertwined her fingers, kissing the back of her husband's hand. That everything will be fine. Definitely. They are Uchiha. They are Uzumaki.